What's up, guys? I want to thank you so much for checking out my YouTube channel. We are going to start doing contests every single month with lucky winners and giving away Young Ambition clothing along with some other really cool prizes. So make sure you hit the subscribe button below. You have to be subscribed to be eligible to win, and I'm excited to continue giving you game-changing, relevant, tactical content that inspires you, challenges you to think different, and really helps you live a life on your terms. So subscribe below, and we'll see you guys soon. You said when other people succeed and someone else next to you makes $5 million, it's not like, oh, dude, they made that. I'm not going to get that much money. Oh my gosh. And they see it as like a competition or like there's less money in the world, when in reality, it's the opposite.
Yeah, that's right. Because that person is serving the world in multiple ways. First of all, they had to provide some sort of value in order to make the $5 million. Second of all, if they're keeping the $5 million in the bank, then the bank is making a profit by loaning against that $5 million to other people who need homes or businesses that need capital. And number three, that person needs to spend that $5 million somewhere, or the interest that they receive from that investment. And so they might put that into a business that is started, or they might spend it at the grocery store, and those people take it home and feed their families. So like every dollar that is made creates three more in additional value.
I want to start with this. With everything going on, e-com, with products, with the pandemic, with everything that's uncertain, what's been on your mind recently? What's been kind of weighing heavy in terms of entrepreneurship that you feel like you should be sharing?
Okay, so in regards to where we are right now in this cycle, the thing that is most evident to me is the speed of change, and specifically the speed of change for new innovation and new opportunities. There is so much momentum flowing into new opportunities right now. For example, I mean, we're recording this on Zoom. We've had a nice conversation about how Zoom stock has gone from $50 to $250 in a couple of months due to all of the pent-up demand moving into good opportunities. People on the market think Zoom is a good opportunity. It goes way up. Wayfair stock goes from $25 to $300. Like if you put $100,000 in, it'd be worth over $1 million in just this year. This is absurd. Now, this is kind of unrelatable to the entrepreneur who's just crossing six figures. What does this mean for them? What it means is that there is more pent-up demand for new opportunities. So if you've got one, then there is all of this pent-up demand to flow to you. And so our job as entrepreneurs is to just open up those opportunities, is to set the vision, is to set the stage, is to get the thing moving. And then there is more labor available because people are in between things. There's more capital available because there's money flowing from one investment to another investment. There is more customer demand than ever before because people are not going out to shop. They're buying online. And so the world has kind of stacked things in our favor to be able to fund and fuel new opportunities. And so our job as entrepreneurs is to look at our set of opportunities, choose the one that is most exciting to us, and allow all of this demand to flow to us. And we're sitting in a really unique time to be an entrepreneur, and we might as well take advantage of it.
And the topic you bring up, capitalism and money, is I want to dive into this a little deeper later, but I want to start off by where that came from for you. Money is a very important topic right now because we all know someone that's struggling financially. And a lot of times if you say, do you respect money? Oh, no, money's evil. But you don't have any, right? So I want to talk about the importance of money and where you came up with capitalism.com in terms of not just being that bold, but understanding the power of respecting money, having financial freedom, and maybe cutting all those past limitations off. Where did it come from? Do you remember a specific instance? Was it things built up? Was it a tipping point? Share that story.
So for me, it was my parents didn't give me any. I mean, I had to work for it, right? I had to negotiate with my mom to work out what I was going to be paid for chores, right? I mean, I negotiated hard and she was firm. So, I mean, I remember putting together booklets with my parents that was like, that was like, I will clean the tub, wash the sink, and scrub the toilets for this amount of money. Sunday, you get 20% off. And I would put together these books of like, it was the only customer I had. And so I was just always negotiating with this one customer that I had. I'm 6 years old trying to negotiate what my rate on chores is going to be. So to their credit, they just allowed me to build up pent up desire for dollars, pent up desire for growth. And the thing that I like to challenge people on when they have resistance to money or the belief that money is evil is to simply ask them, what is the purpose of money? The purpose of money, because money isn't real, Peter. Money is a means of exchange. It's an in-between. The real thing, what's the real thing that we use money for? And it's simply to allocate our attention to be in service of one another. That's what money is there for. That's the purpose of money, is to allow us to focus on what is actually in service to other people. Because as human beings, if we weren't incentivized to be in service to one another, we would just be selfish. And we would pillage, which is what we did before the invention of money. Before the invention of money, there were pillagers. Now we have money, we have an ethical means of exchange that puts our attention on service to one another. So if you say that money is evil, what you are basically saying is that it is evil to operate in service to other people. No one actually believes that. No one believes that serving one another is evil. Instead, they think that money is the thing that keeps us from serving one another, but the opposite is true. If you don't have that story and you recognize that money is simply the way that we show up to serve one another, and we do that by creating products, by offering services, by allocating our attention, by lining up investments. These are all ways that we serve each other and we serve the overall collective. And capitalism is the system through which we do that. It's the system through which we have the incentives for us to be able to operate in service to one another. And if you do that, you make money. Naval Ravikant calls it, he likens it to having IOUs. It's like the world has IOUs, that when you create good service for other people, you get it back in the form of an IOU. You have given to society, and now they have awarded you an IOU to you now can have your pick from anything else in society, and that's called a dollar. And the more that you create value for society, the more that it rewards you in the form of these IOUs. But money isn't a real thing. It's simply a way that we line up our focus to be in service to our fellow humans.
So did you not have to shift your perspective really because of how you grew up? Or did you have to constantly kind of shift that focus of money?
You know, that's a great question, because in college is when I started making money on the internet. And all of my college buddies were struggling, and they were going into a massive amount of debt to pay for college. And they all have this story about money that was really challenging to them. And it was the first time that I ever challenged, like, I asked myself, like, am I just a selfish prick who's taking advantage of other people? That was the first time that thought existed to me. And I had a professor in college. His name is Dr. Tom Lehman. And Tom Lehman was an economics professor. And Tom Lehman's perspective, he gave this presentation about how freedom and voluntary service to one another was the most Christian and the most loving way to operate a society. And that if you have a top-down approach where government is dictating what everybody is doing and you have no freedom or less freedom, that it was not as loving or as Christian. I went to a super Christian university. And so he gave a presentation showing, or at least convincing me, that when people are operating in a state of voluntary exchange, I don't have to transact with you. I choose to transact with you. And I buy from you because whatever it is that you offer me is worth more than what I'm trading for it. It was the first time that I saw that we live in an expansive universe, not a fixed universe. We live in a universe that is always expanding. We are living in a world that is always trying to grow. We don't have a fixed pie. We have a growing pie. Because if I trade with you and you trade with me and we're both better off, then new value is created. We have expanded the pie, expanded the amount of possibilities that we have. And when there is freedom in the transactions, then that is always happening. We are wired to grow. We have a universe that is wired to grow. And as a result, we don't have that need to take from one another. When you operate in service to one another, both of you end up growing. And so my study of economics and my study of in that period of my life where I was starting my first business, which is what convinced me that money is not only appropriate, it's a good thing. And being in business and getting rich is a service to other people. It's not taking from anyone.
You talked about something too that stood out. You said when other people succeed and someone else next to you makes $5 million, it's not like, oh, dude, they made that. I'm not going to get that much money. Oh my gosh. And they see it as like a competition or like there's less money in the world, when in reality, it's the opposite.
Yeah, that's right. Because that person is serving the world in multiple ways. First of all, they had to provide some sort of value in order to make the $5 million. Second of all, if they're keeping the $5 million in the bank, then the bank is making a profit by loaning against that $5 million to other people who need homes or businesses that need capital. And number three, that person needs to spend that $5 million somewhere, or the interest that they receive from that investment. And so they might put that into a business that is started, or they might spend it at the grocery store, and those people take it home and feed their families. So like every dollar that is made creates three more in additional value, which is why standards of living keep going up. And just as like a byproduct, you see that as an example, and they have now paved the way for you as a reference point in your brain of, oh, $5 million is possible. Unless you believe that money is evil or they are evil, and then you will resent them and you stay poor while they continue to get wealthier.
And I see both sides. Even in entrepreneurship, I see both types of people.
That's true. That's true. But you can't believe that money is evil and make a lot of it. Your brain won't let you. It will sabotage you.
I agree. So if we had to narrow down to, because I want to get into the money mindset to give them somewhat of a foundation of all the years you've studied and you've lived it and experienced it, and you've ran masterminds, you've spoken in crowds of thousands of people, and you've probably seen a lot of people with the wrong money mindset and mindsets that have shifted to allow them to actually become valuable enough to make 7 and 8 figures. So if we had to narrow down the 7-figure mindset money-wise for people that are on this call watching, maybe they're at 6 figures, they're just shy of 6 figures, maybe they've been stuck at $500,000. What are some shifts they have to make internally, perspective-wise, to get to somewhat of a 7-figure mentality?
You know, this is so interesting. I really didn't want this to be true the first time that I saw it because it just didn't make logical sense to me. But I've seen it over and over and over again that I just have too much anecdotal evidence to suggest otherwise. And it's that if you make the money the priority, it makes it real hard to get it. Mm-hmm. And the reason for this is because money by nature is a byproduct. It's a byproduct of value. And so you have to line things up to be something that you care to give enough value for. You have to serve a customer that you care enough about to naturally provide value for. You have to create a product that gets enough of your attention that it's worthy of making 7 figures. But what most people will do is they say, okay, the goal is 7 figures. And so what I will do is I will find out how other people made 7 figures, and I will reverse engineer how they made 7 figures, and I'll do exactly that. But it does not match up with who they want to serve or the value that they want to bring or what their natural skill set is. And so they run up into all these bumps along the way that make it really frustrating. There is so much value in looking to other people for inspiration, but it is so limiting to look at other people for reverse engineering their how-to strategy. So if you make 7 figures, if you make $5 million this year, and I try to go after your customers in your market with the same Facebook ad that you ran, I'm going to be toast because I can't speak to your people like you do. You already have momentum in the marketplace. Your product is already better than mine. And so I've done myself a disservice by copying what I think is the way to make 7 figures. So the way that the shift, the opposite side of that is prioritizing the person, the customer first, and seeing where you have unique skills to be able to provide value for them. And it always starts with like some sort of insignificant starting point. Like what 80% of my job, Peter, when I'm working with like a new entrepreneur and they've got an idea and they're thinking about like going way up here, making $1 million, is I have to get them to think about one sale. And it frustrates the heck out of them. But if I can get them to think about one sale, then I can get them to think about 10. And when there's momentum on 10, I can get them to turn that into 5 reviews. And that ends up becoming 25 sales a day. And if it's 25 sales a day, it ends up being 4 products at 25 sales a day, which at a $30 price point is $1 million business. Mm-hmm. And so when I can get them to think about going really small, then I know that I've got something that can be scaled to a 7-figure business. I have a dear friend and a mentor who challenged me recently on a new business. I'm launching this new product at capitalism.com, which is called the Capitalism Incubator. And I'm basically training entrepreneurs to build the types of businesses that I want to invest in. So the kind of the carrot at the end of it is I'd like to partner with a few entrepreneurs who have exciting businesses. So I'm incentivized to help them grow something really meaningful. And this friend of mine said, how many of these do you want to sell? And I said, I really want to sell 250 of them out of the gate. And she said, no, I don't think you should sell more than 10. I was like, what? What do you mean I can't sell more than 10? And she says, well, how would you sell this to a group of 250 people? And I had this complex strategy about how I was going to launch this to 250 people. And then she says, how would you sell it to 10? And it was like, oh, well, if I were to just sell it to 10, I would do X, Y, and Z, no problem. She says, you need to come at it from that approach of this is easy to sell 10 of them, and go serve those 10 people like crazy, get great results, and use that as the momentum to take you to the next release of it. And so often we as entrepreneurs want to think about scaling before we have proven that we have the value in the marketplace on a small group of people. Even Apple was a very small company 20 years ago. Now they're a $2 trillion company. Even Amazon was a tiny little business where Jeff Bezos paid himself $80,000 a year, and he went all in on the customer and scaled over time. So hitting 7 figures requires you to think small enough in the short term to allocate the attention you have to be able to then go all in to create that momentum that ends up getting you to 7 figures.
Well, I think that's a huge point in the midst of what you just said. I think it's if someone focuses on the million or focuses on the visions and everything, that it's almost like they get overwhelmed and they don't take any action.
That's right.
So it's counterproductive anyways to always be like, I'm going to make millions. I'm going to do a 7-figure business and not focus on the first sale or your ideal customer. I've seen people do that and it kills their ambition. Because they're not focusing.
Exactly right. It's exactly right. We want the million right now. And as a result, we miss out on the unbelievable joy of the climb to 1 million. Mm-hmm. Like, do you remember your first sale that you ever took online, Peter?
Yes.
Is there any replacing that feeling?
No. Someone asked me a while ago too. It's like, what would you do different? I'm like, everything, even my failures happened for me like the right way.
Yes.
To become who I am. It's interesting that you say that.
Those first few sales are the most delicious, enjoyable experience ever. The most fun part of this is going from 0 to the first 100,000 and then to the first million. And here's why. Our brains are made to evaluate things on comparison or contrast. So going from 0 to 100,000 is infinite return, infinite amount of dopamine and excitement in the brain. Going from 1 to 10, still pretty exciting. Brain still fires, but not as much. Going from 10 to 50, still awesome, but literally half the amount of growth as 1 to 10. And so it's diminishing amounts of return and diminishing amounts of satisfaction in the brain. So don't miss out on the most exciting part. The grind at the very beginning is the most exciting part. Don't deprive yourself of that by living in, well, one day I'm going to hit 7 figures. The way that you will hit 7 figures is by being so deliriously excited about the early stages, the most fun part, that momentum carries you to mid 6 and early 7 figures. That's how it happens.
Hey, what's up? And thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy this video and this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, put the notifications on, and I assure you, you'll love this content and these videos.